Hi everyone, today we are going to be reviewing the PlayStation TV. As you can see, this very nice micro console is really simplistic in design. It has one port on the side, which is where you put your PlayStation Vita games, such as Killzone. Unless you, of course, want to download all your games, in which case I'll show you what you have to do there. So your games go right there. And on the flip side here, we have a couple of ports. We have the plug-in port, the AC adapter. We have an Ethernet port here if you want to have blistering fast internet. HDMI out, USB 2.0, a little slot here for a PlayStation Vita memory card. This is a 4 GB one. It looked a little blurry in the camera, but whatever. Does it go like this or like this? And if you plan to download games, I highly recommend you pick up a much bigger memory card. Anyways, and there's the power button on the unit. And that's pretty much the hardware of the PlayStation TV. But now what we're going to do is we're going to actually jump into the guts of this thing, and I'll continue to talk about my impressions of this system. What I will tell you right now is that if you are looking to play PlayStation 1 classics and PlayStation Portable classics, this is an incredible device, well worth the asking price. You can also stream your PlayStation 4 content to the device, as well as additional features, but we'll tackle all of that in greater detail as soon as we jump into the core crux of what makes this system tick. So let's do that right now. The PlayStation TV is a micro console unlike any other. It allows you to remote play PlayStation 4 games from one room to another. It grants you access to PlayStation Now so you can play PlayStation 3 games from the cloud. You can stream movies and music from Sony's entertainment service via the PlayStation Network, and you can download PlayStation Portable and PlayStation 1 classics from the PlayStation Store. Oh, and did I forget to mention that you can also play PlayStation Vita games, either in cart format or digitally. All of this comes in a console smaller than most people's smartphone. There are a few important aspects that need to be mentioned before going any further. For one, because this system is based entirely around the Vita hardware, you're going to have to purchase one of those insanely expensive Vita memory cards if you really want to get the most out of the Vita portion of the system. The stock 1 GB internal memory will be used up literally within minutes. So right there, that's an additional cost to keep in mind. And while it's true you can purchase a deluxe package that comes with the PS TV, a DualShock 3, a game, and an 8 GB memory card for about $140, I'd say you'll most likely need at least the $30 16 GB memory card if you really want to enjoy everything this tiny box has to offer. Either way, know that there are additional costs unless you go the deluxe route and don't require additional storage space. While we're on the subject of pricing, the core model goes for around $100, and the deluxe model with the game, memory card, and controller goes for the already mentioned $140. Retailers, though, have already started to price down the console quite significantly. As a matter of fact, you can actually buy the core console for only $80 now, and the deluxe model for around $100 on Amazon and other retailers, which is quite a good deal for what you're actually getting here. So let's jump more in depth into the system. Let's get some of the negatives out of the way right away. As a micro console with streaming capabilities, it is missing some very key applications, namely Netflix and Hulu Plus. Right there, that limits your movie and music selection to what's currently available on the PlayStation Network. Secondly, and to me one of the biggest glaring omissions, is the fact that A whole whackload of PlayStation Vita games are not compatible with the PlayStation TV, including some of the absolute best games on the platform, including Uncharted Golden Abyss and Tearaway. Why this is so annoying is because other Vita games have been patched so that touchscreen or trackpad functions have been mapped to buttons, such as Killzone Mercenary. Why other top tier games haven't been patched is beyond me, but I've got my fingers crossed that they will be eventually. The last aspect that really doesn't sit too well with me is the overall user interface. It's essentially a clone of the Vita interface, and while that worked great with a touchscreen, using a controller makes everything feel much more clumsy than it should be. Technically it all works, but it could have been much more refined. While playing Vita games blown up to a glorious 720p resolution, you'll naturally experience some fuzziness in the picture, but I must admit I was very impressed with how well everything looked. Some games certainly look better than others, but of all the Vita games I tried, they all looked quite good, and as you can see from the gameplay footage you're seeing here, PSP and PS1 classics also look quite nice, although much more rough around the edges considering the original resolution of those systems. For someone like me, being able to easily record gameplay footage from PSP games is a huge win. The PlayStation TV is also really useful as a remote play device. There is one big catch here though. You absolutely must use an Ethernet cable for both your PS4 and PlayStation TV if you want to experience remote play as it's truly intended. While it technically works with Wi-Fi, you'll notice dips in frame rate and visual degradation almost every minute. I personally have very little use for this feature as of right now, but in my testing it worked great, and if you have multiple TVs in your house, you might just be the perfect person to use remote play on those nights where your significant other is using the big screen and you still want to get in a few more hours of the latest Call of Duty. The PlayStation TV also has access to PlayStation Now for streaming PS3 games, but guys, I refuse to pay the prices Sony is currently asking for, and I have a PS3 connected to my TV right now, so there's no real need for me to even use that feature. That said, it is available for those interested, although I would imagine you would need to use an Ethernet cable to ensure the best gameplay experience possible. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee it. So when you look at everything the PS TV has to offer and what it currently doesn't offer, it does feel that as a standalone gaming device, it's missing some really key features. It needed services such as Netflix, and it should be compatible with way more Vita games than it currently is. I understand not every publisher can patch their games for financial reasons, but Sony should be doing its part to help those publishers out. As a person who records gameplay footage on a daily basis though, the prospect of easily being able to capture HD footage of classic PSP games and a large amount of Vita games makes this device extremely exciting and one that I can see myself getting a ton of use out of. The question is, will you?